Get higher, baby. Get higher, baby. Get higher, girl. Hey.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to Knights of the Pages Library. We are a little podcast dedicated to reviewing audiobooks. I am Bo Knight, and I am joined, as always, with my brother, Ryan Knight. And today we are taking a look at A Hero's Guide to Saving Your Kingdom, written by Christopher Healy and Todd Harris, and narrated by Bronson Pinchot.
Yeah, and we just discovered something very interesting right before we hit record, that in the Audible version of this that we listened to, they don't mention Todd Harris as writing it. So, not sure why that is. If anybody knows the answer to that, please email us. aotpl.pod@gmail.com is the easiest place to get a hold of us or send us any of your thoughts.
Yeah, and if anybody knows why Todd Harris isn't accredited on the audiobook, I'd be very curious.
Yeah, I'd be very curious too. Just doing a quick look here on Audible, he's only credited for this book and one other book, so that's interesting.
Maybe it was a situation where it's like, put my name on that too.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I'd be very curious to know what the reasoning behind that was for. But yeah, so as Bill mentioned, The Hero's Guide to Saving Your Kingdom. We mentioned quite a while ago we were going to listen to this. I think back before October.
Yeah.
And I know there's at least a few of you out there just wondering when we were going to get to it. And here it is.
The day is now.
We had to push back some stuff that we already had planned from October when we switched to doing some spooky stuff. So it got pushed back into November, and life has just been kind of happening. But here it is. We told you we'd get to it, and here it is. So this book, let's see. When was this book written?
2012.
Okay, yeah. 2012. So it's not brand new by any means. But it's not that old either. And is this only in audio form? Or is there a...
No, it's written too.
Okay. So
I was incorrect earlier when I said that.
Okay, so there is a paper copy of this as well. Okay. Interesting. Yeah, so the author, like I said, Todd Harris is only credited in this and one other book, so I can't say a lot about him, especially since he also wasn't credited in the Audible version. Christopher Healy, however, is mostly known for writing what looks like children's books. So this kind of falls under that category of like aimed at a younger audience. This book is one out of 3. There's 3 books in this series of The League of Princes. And then it looks like he has another series that is also targeted at a younger audience. So I would say he's probably mostly known for a younger audience targeted fantasy writing type of books, basically.
Yeah, I would say so.
So can I go first about the narrator in this one?
By all means.
Only because I want to say, so we've mentioned Bronson Pinchot on here before. Anybody who's listened to us before knows that we are big fans of the Grim Noir Chronicles, which Bronson Pinchot does. He also is in the Area X series. We've mentioned that as well. But in this, I would say this is what should be considered a master class for a narrator, in my opinion.
I'm sorry, Oliver, if you're listening, but Bronson Pinchot's the GOAT. He is amazing.
This,
it's insane.
Yeah, so this blew my freaking socks off. Honestly, this sounded like a one-man dramatization.
Yeah, it really did, but in a good way.
Yes. Yeah, because we've said before, not huge fans of dramatizations. However, there are so many characters in this that somehow Bronson Pinchot comes up with a new way to voice each and every one of them.
Yeah.
It is amazing.
It
It really like it is
kind of
next
feels like this
level.
book was written with him in mind.
And that's honestly though, I didn't know he had this much range. I really didn't.
Me neither.
Because I mean, obviously from the Grim Noir Chronicles, he does a lot of voices and he does a lot of accents and he does them all very, very well. But this, it was just on another level. It's just crazy how good it is.
Yeah, he definitely brings a lot of life to this.
Yeah. Honestly, I was blown away the whole time listening to it. I was like, how is one man capable of doing all of these voices so accurately, so consistently? Like it was crazy.
Yeah, his accents are just on another level, man.
Yeah, on point. I mean, on point. By far and away one of the most impressive books I've ever listened to as far as like narrator range of like voices.
Yeah, it's really it's unreal.
Yeah, it really is. And it's not what I was expecting at all because I got the vibe from the Grim Noir Chronicles and like the Area X book that he does and just a few other things I've listened to that he was a very serious, if that makes sense, like
Yeah.
a very serious person. And because like in the Grim Noir Chronicles, he sounds like a very serious guy and none of the accents sound like a joke or anything like that. But in this, like I said, not what I was expecting at all because he can do funny, he can do serious, he can do high, he can do low. It is impressive.
It is. It's very impressive. He was put on a clinic.
Yeah, that's a great way to put it. Yeah, that other narrators or aspiring narrators should take some serious notes on this one.
Yeah, I'm telling you, he's the greatest of all time, I think.
Yeah, up to this point, and again, you know, I don't know if Oliver listens to us, but
I doubt it.
and I'm not taking anything away from Oliver, but holy shit, I would have to go silver medal and then give the gold to Bronson on this one. Like it's just
Dude,
it's on another
he gets
level.
like a platinum, dude. He gets his own podium that rises up out of the ground behind the people.
Yeah,
and goes like 20 feet above them.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, so normally we don't even gloat over a narrator that much. This is the most praise I think we've ever given a narrator on an episode. But yes, it was just crazy to hear. So so now moving on to the general, the generalities of the book, if you will. So like I said, this book is a little more, I would say, young audience focused. I wouldn't necessarily say like a children's book. This is not a children's book by any means. But for probably targeted at younger people or people who like a more like a silly story, I would say.
Yeah.
It has quite a bit of like slapstick type stuff. I want to like this kind of seems so just based on the title, The Hero's Guide to Saving Your Kingdom. It kind of reminds me of like a Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy type of story, if that makes sense.
Okay.
Just in the way the humor is presented to me. This is a sort of retelling of classic stories you might know, like classic Disney princess stories.
Yeah,
but
like
told,
classic fairy tales.
Right. But told about the princes in those tales that we don't normally hear about, like in the Disney rendition. Which is a very good idea for a story, I will say.
Yeah, I thought it's something I'd never really thought about before this.
Right, exactly. So let's see. This one clocks in right at 9 hours, which is not super long, but I would say it's that was about where it needed to be, in my opinion. I would even argue it could have probably been a little shorter, but that was just me.
Yeah, I don't think it's too long. I
No.
thought it was about right.
Yeah. I don't think it overstayed its welcome, but I definitely like when it ended, I was like, you know, I thought that was a good spot for it to be over. So let's see. This book is included if you are a Audible Premium Plus member. So you can
But
pick this
if
one up
you're
for free.
not, it is $29.65.
Oh, seems kind of steep.
It is a
Jeez.
little expensive.
Um, but yeah, it's included in your Audible membership, and if you don't have an Audible Premium Plus, what are you doing?
And I think that's Audible Premium is on sale right now for $5.95 a month for your first 3 months.
Ooh, is that like a Black Friday thing?
It doesn't say, but I'm assuming so.
Probably.
Yeah, and that deal ends on December 31st.
Okay, yeah. Oh, okay, so it's like a Black Friday / like Christmas holidays type thing. Okay, that's cool. Okay, so let's see. Let's move on to the big questions. Is this one easy to follow?
I thought so, but I think a lot of that is Bronson Pinchot
Correct.
just flexing his pipes because
Yeah.
everybody sounds so unique
Yep.
that it's very hard to get confused.
Yes. And I would agree 100%. And I think this book fills the gaps that we have said some dramatizations suffer from, because they just expect that since it's multiple voices in a dramatization, you'll automatically know who's speaking. Not only does Bronson Pinchot cover this issue simply by making the voices very distinct and very different, there's also the benefit for us, the listener, of, you know, X person says something and then it will say, it's written in there, so and so said, or
Mhm.
said to so and so. So we know exactly who is speaking at all times, which makes it very, very easy to follow, I would say.
And as Ryan has said many times, it is aimed at younger audiences, so there's not a lot of nuance here. There's
Sure.
not a lot of like hidden details about the mystery killer throughout the whole book.
Right.
So it's kind of like what you see is what you get, and I feel like for me it went down very smooth.
Yeah, I would definitely say easy to listen to as well. And that is only, enhanced by Bronson Pinchot's performance on this one. So, um, what's your recommendation on this one?
See, like this is where it gets tough
Okay.
because I think Bronson Pinchot's performance is worth the price of admission on its own. Just like the range that he is able to accomplish here it's truly masterful. Like it's a wonder to behold for me, at least. It's like someone who's a fan of all these audiobooks and who's listened to so many just like droning, boring people for so much. This was like such a breath of life. But I find the story itself to be a little flat.
Sure. I would agree with
So
that. Yeah.
I would say like I'm gonna go ahead and recommend this one with the caveat that like coming in that you should know that you really shouldn't expect a lot of story here, and you're
Mhm.
kind of only here for Bronson Pinchot.
Yeah. And I would say that's a good way to put it. Because I agree, because that's how I kind of felt the whole time I was listening. I was enamored by Bronson Pinchot's performance, but at the same time, I found myself being like, the story is just not. It's not really like, and I mean, I get it. It's aimed at a younger audience. That's fine. However, I just felt like there was so much more, like the fact that they were retelling these classic fairy tales from a different perspective, like that should be a lot to work with. And it's just not the direction I thought they were going to take it, the one that they chose. Um, but I would agree. This is not a bad book by any means. That's not what I'm saying. I just felt myself solely being carried on the performance and much less so on the story.
Yeah.
But this one's a tough one. I mean, it's included with your membership. So if you're like a premium plus member already and you had found yourself lacking in things to listen to, I would definitely recommend this one, especially since you would get it for
Especially
free.
if you're like want something like lighthearted. Like if you just listen to like a Stephen King book and you're real down about the world, maybe check this out because it's a little lighthearted and fun.
Sure. Yeah, or if you've, like if you just watch the news, and why would you? And you
Yeah,
want to
if you had
pick
listened to
me
a
up.
book, let's say The Luminous Dead, and we're feeling bored.
Yeah. You were feeling extremely let down by that.
Yeah.
Yeah. You needed to pick me up. This would be a good one for that. So yeah, those are our recommendations. Take those as you will. If you have different thoughts on it, please email us and let us know. But for now, we're gonna go ahead and pass the spoiler wall and we'll talk about the story. So if you do not want it spoiled for you, this is your warning to go ahead and go listen to it. But please come back here and listen to what we have to say about it.
Yeah, yeah. Come back for the wrap up.
Yeah. Yeah. So okay. I don't think I can go through this story beat by beat, to be honest.
Well, it would be kind of pointless.
Right.
In my opinion.
Because if we went through it beat by beat, we'd pretty much tell you the whole story.
Yeah.
Because the story has a ton of beats. Like so much shit going on that it's like
almost
it's hard
too
to
much
keep. Yeah.
Without a lot of consequences.
Correct. Yeah. I feel like there was a lot of this, and this is where I kind of felt like the story was lacking the whole time. There's a lot of content here, but no depth to it. It's very shallow.
And I feel like the Prince Charming angle was actually underutilized. Like it didn't really tie into the original fables other than like how they met their particular princesses.
Yeah, see, and that's what I found a little disappointing. So in this one, we pretty much meet the 4 Prince Charmings. Princess Charming.
Princess, yeah. We got Prince Liam, Prince Frederick, Prince Duncan, and Prince Gustav.
Right. And they are the princes of Snow White, Cinderella, Rapunzel, and Sleeping Beauty, right?
Yep.
And not in the same order. I probably mixed them up.
Oh yeah.
But
yeah.
The thing that kind of irritated me, what I was expecting when I found out, like, oh, they're retelling these stories from a different perspective. I thought we would hear all the stuff leading up to when they met the princesses.
Which we do for Liam, but that's it.
Correct. But for the rest of them, they've already met the princesses, and we're telling a story of them trying to find their identity versus the way it's told from like the bard's version of the story, which usually just calls them all Prince Charming. So basically what this is all about is these 4 princes end up getting together in a roundabout sort of way, and they end up going on an adventure to save Cinderella, right?
Well, yeah, they think Cinderella has been captured by this witch, but that's not really what's going on.
Right. I mean, she was, right, at one point. She did capture her.
Well, not when they set out. That actually happens
Correct.
after.
Yeah. Yeah, because Cinderella left because she wanted to go do her own thing, but then she gets captured later on.
And then she promptly escapes.
Yeah. The witch, though, the only reason the witch is doing this, I thought was funny, is she's so bitter about things that have happened in her past that she just decided to become like the worst supervillain ever.
Well, I like that there was like a wildfire going around her hut, and so she's using her magic to protect her hut. And then she sees a bunch of kids, and she decides to save them instead. But the town people turn on her because they think she's trying to kill them.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
Which I like. I liked that.
Yeah, I thought that was funny too. Like, I thought that was a good angle for why she is bad, is because she was trying to be good and people said she was bad anyways. So she's like, fine,
Yeah.
I'll just be the
She's like,
worst
fine, I'll be
bad
the
person.
worst person ever.
Yeah. Um, so she is kind of our main like antagonist to our four princes. Um, and basically the whole book is about each prince while they're together kind of getting into different shenanigans basically.
And
Um,
kind of like confronting their own like personalities and where they lack
right.
in
And
a
then
very surface way. Don't think this isn't like a deep dive about like why does a prince need to save a maiden? It's not anything like that.
no, and it's more too of like each of them while they confront themselves, it's also like you said, very surface level in the other three, pointing out the flaws to the one
Yeah.
for them to work on. So it's not like a ton of inner monologue of like, oh man, I really need to work on myself. No, it's very much so like surface level feel good stuff like, hey man, we see you could be doing this, this, and this different instead of doing it the way you do it. Like,
And they immediately change.
yeah. But I would say the star of the show out of the four of them for me is definitely Duncan,
Oh,
the
okay,
who
I like
sounds like a
Gustav.
freaking I just love that Duncan just sounds like a stoner like the whole time. Like
Well, okay, can we talk about where they meet Duncan?
yeah.
So the other three princes are like riding up in the woods, and this other prince just like stumbles upon them in the woods, and then we get a little bit of Duncan's backstory, how he's like insanely lucky. He's just like a lucky person. Like what are the he like when he was like 5, he was sledding and he crashed his sled into a chest full of gold.
Yeah, which is how he got like most of his riches.
Yeah, so he's like I just kind of stumbled upon you guys on accident, which seems super improbable. But then he's like, oh, I gotta write Sleeping Beauty a note, and he just writes a note and tosses it, and a bird promptly picks it up and flies off with it, which I thought was so funny.
Yeah, he definitely has some of like the best like why things happen to him type of stuff.
Yeah.
I do love that. Um But okay, so Gustav is your favorite. So explain Gustav.
So Gustav is like he to me he's like what you think of when you think of like a Prince Charming. He's like a big burly guy with long blonde hair, and he kind of just charges into combat without thinking about it. Like our first introduction to him is like this troll is harassing this lady, and the lady basically has it under control, and he comes out of nowhere to fight this troll, and the troll just whips up on him. And his main trait is that he can take a lot of punishment and keep going. And he kind of has like a complex because his brothers from Sturmhagen are
Yeah,
all
Sturmhagen.
he's like the youngest, so they all pick on him, and he kind of
Which
like lucked into saving was he Rapunzel, right? He like
I
saved her on
honestly
accident.
I don't remember. Like
I
that
think
was
it's Rapunzel, right? Because he fell out of her tower directly onto a bramble bush and poked out both of his eyes.
okay, yeah, I think so. Yeah. Um I love the detail though. Okay, so Gustav is the youngest of 17 kids.
Yeah,
And at one point one of them asks him like how much younger he is. And he's like 2 years. And they're like, you're 2 years younger than your 16 siblings? And he's like, my mom had 2 sets of octuplets and then me.
yeah,
Which, dude, okay, that was funny.
that is pretty funny. And I like when they're talking about their horses, and he's like, "So what's your name?" Because he's giving the one guy shit because his horse is like Charging Thunder or something like that. I think it's Frederick, because Frederick is actually quite a hero, but there's not a lot to Frederick really. But and then they're like, so Gustav's giving him shit. He's like, "Oh, you call it Charging Thunder, dude?" He's like, "What's your horse's name?" And he's like, gets all sheepish. He's like, 17.
Yeah,
My
so
horse's name is 17.
yeah, because they're just named. They each are given a horse when they're born, and
Yeah.
and since he's the 17th kid. Um, I think Liam is the true hero, right?
Oh, is
Frederick
it
is the one
Liam?
who's scared of everything because
Oh,
his
you're right.
dad,
You're right. I got
right?
Frederick and Liam confused. Yeah.
Yeah, because his dad has kind of raised him to be scared of everything just so he'll be safe all the time.
Yeah.
Um,
He's like a prim and proper fancy boy.
yeah. But I mean, the more I talk about the book, like the story is good. I just feel
Yeah,
like
it's got lots of good moments.
it's very much so surface level. Like and that's fine for being aimed at a younger audience. I'm not saying I wanted like a Game of Thrones style freaking Hero's Guide to Saving Your Kingdom. But I just thought that the angle they took, like I said, I thought more of it was going to be leading up to how they were introduced in the stories versus them trying to change the way they're portrayed in the stories, I guess.
Can we talk about Deeb?
Deeb Robber,
Yeah.
which let me just say, I'm just going to throw this out there. I am not a fan of a person who is named after their craft.
Profession. Yeah.
Yes.
I automatically the cobbler.
I automatically assume if like in real life, if someone's name matches their craft too closely, that they change their name.
Yeah,
So
some bullshit.
I'm just throwing that out there. I'm not a fan of like his name is Robber and he's the king of bandits. Like I'm not a fan of that. Anyways, yes, go ahead. Talk about Deeb.
Well, so he is the bandit captain essentially, but he's only 10 years old.
Yeah.
I don't
like
remember,
only 10.
I don't remember how he got to power. Do you remember how he came in charge of everybody?
Yeah, what did he steal? He stole something. I can't remember. I don't remember what he stole that was so I
just like a lot of the character that he gets, because he's like a bandit captain who's obviously like ruthless and kind of a dick, but like the way he punishes his people is like ties them upside down by their feet and his other men spit spitballs at them and stuff like that. Like I think that's hilarious.
Yeah. And the way that they end up getting in his head is by calling him like a little baby.
Yeah.
And it pisses him off so bad, which is pretty funny. Like that, yeah, it is funny. And then he comes back in the end and he steals all the shit like at the wedding.
Yeah, like, he takes their statues away.
Yeah, that is pretty funny. Yeah, what's the witch's name? The big bad that they fight?
I can't remember. She's voiced amazingly too.
Yeah, super good. Yeah, and like she is excited because she wants to have like this huge display of like how bad she is. So she's trying to draw in a Prince Charming to basically like kill them in plain sight of everybody else. And the fact that she gets 4 Princes Charming makes her even like happier. But then like she's also like a shit heel to her her giant follower Reese, who, dude, is that some synthetic stuff that he does with his voice? Like, is that computer enhanced?
I don't know, honestly.
Because if it's not, holy cow, it's crazy how deep he goes.
It is, yeah, it's pretty crazy. Maybe it is. Maybe he's like slowing it down.
It sounds like it's probably enhanced in some way a little bit, but it's just it's really, really cool. But because she's like a shit heel to him, you know, he ends up classic, you know, like realizes she's a piece of shit to him and ends up not really helping her in the final kind of fight with the princes.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, this one, again, we can't really go beat by beat. They get into a lot of shenanigans, like a ton. Like Bo said, almost too many. But I mean, it's a good overall. I would say good, like feel good story. I'm not a fan either of the way in the book the one guy is like, I want to write a book, and he's like, I can't even remember what he calls it first, but then the other girl's like, you should call it The Hero's Guide to Saving Your Kingdom. I was just like face palmed because I don't like when it's so like meta like that.
Yeah, I agree.
Where in the book they are writing the book that we are listening to. Like, I don't like stuff like that.
It's Duncan who writes it.
That's right. Yeah. And it's a nitpick. That's nitpicking, but I just am not a fan of stuff like that. But yeah, I mean, I would say I mean, I would say this is good. I don't necessarily know how the series is. Like I said, there are 3 books in the series. This has a surprisingly low amount of ratings on Audible. As far as the amount, it only has 1,047 ratings.
Really?
It has 4.5 stars out of that many. That's a surprisingly low amount. I would have thought way more people had listened to this. So that does surprise me that there's so few ratings. But definitely received like good praise overall. So
Yeah, it's pretty good. It's entertaining at the least.
yeah, I would say this is one of the few books I found myself actually laughing out loud at a few parts.
Yeah, there are parts that are pretty funny.
Yeah, that would kind of catch me off guard or whatever, and I would actually legitimately laugh, which very rarely happens when I listen to stories. So, that says something.
I think it would be good to like if you had like a long car ride with your kids, this would definitely be something you could put on.
Yeah, and I would say even for like very young kids, this would be okay. Because the voice acting alone, I would say, is probably enough to engage them in it. Even if they
Yeah.
aren't really following the story, the voice acting alone would definitely get their attention. So, but
Sorry, I'm
yeah,
trying to figure out that witch's name and I can't find it.
it started with a Z. I feel like was it a Z?
Yeah, I think you're right, but I don't remember what her name was.
It's something in. I mean, it's not a bad name. Like it's something like Z. I almost said Zangria. I mean, sounds like a cool drink.
Maybe it is.
I I can't remember her name. Um, and that's really, really shitty journalism on my part for not remembering the main characters' names. But again, tons of characters, tons of voices and stuff like that. So you will excuse me since I've only listened to it once for not remembering every detail of it.
Or they won't, and they can write us an angry email.
Yeah, I mean, that'd be fine too. Again, kotpl.pod@gmail.com. Send your comments, questions, corrections, praise, hate, whatever you want. Send it to us.
Sure, whatever you feel like, man.
Yeah. You got anything else on this one, Bo?
No, I think I'm good beating this fancy horse.
Yeah, I would praise Bronson Pinchot some more, but if he listens to this, he's gonna roll his eyes.
Yeah, we can only deep throat him for so long.
Yeah. But yeah. So what are we doing next time?
Do you want me
Have
to
we
pick?
have we decided?
Can I pick right now? Just because I
Yeah.
started it today.
Yeah, please do.
We are gonna do Doctor Sleep by Stephen King, the follow-up to The Shining.
Okay. So there you go. If you were if you're one of those people who's out there writing down on your calendar what Knights of the Pageless Library is doing next, there you go. There it is.
And maybe in the future we will release like a full list that everybody can look at when they join our Patreon that doesn't exist.
Yeah.
But we're not there yet.
Right. And the only support we would ask from you guys right now, if you've listened to this episode this long, clearly you're invested. So we would just ask that you leave us a rating and review. Drop us an email. That's the coolest part of this to us.
I'm telling you, you write us an email that even says like, "What's up? I listened to your podcast." It would blow our minds.
Yeah. Yeah, it would be cool because again, we just started doing this because it was a conversation we were going to have anyways, so we basically just hit record. So the fact that anybody listens to it, it's awesome.
Yeah,
So,
it tickles me pink.
sure. And stay tuned. We will hopefully be finishing up our Anime Squire series soon. I know we've been saying it for a while, but again, we got some complications in the pipeline. I hate to be that guy, but we are running into a little bit of issues with recording and stuff like that. So we're going to do our best to keep the stuff coming out on a semi-continuous basis, but please bear with us. It's going to be difficult for a little while. But we will finish the Charlotte anime soon. And then when we finish that, we will announce what we're going to be doing next. So if you've listened this far and you like our Anime Squire series, please email us any suggestions you have for the next anime for us to do.
Yeah,
There's
they
still
got to
time
be
get
good
that
at this point, I think.
What's that?
They got to be good to make me change my mind.
Yeah. So, but yeah, there's still time to get that in before we finish that episode. Yeah, we have something in the pipeline, but if we get a really good suggestion, maybe we'll take a look at that instead. So,
Yeah.
You got anything else on that one?
Nope. Other than thanks for listening. We truly appreciate all 10 of you. I know that's like a joke, but like, if one person is happy that we release an episode, I'm happy. So
yeah, I agree. And with that, we hope to catch you guys in the next one.